Not long ago, you could scroll through LinkedIn and tell who actually knew what they were talking about. And more, I'm finding that it's getting kind of difficult because you're seeing content from everywhere and from everyone. Everyone's posts are looking crisp now, as if everybody's been writing on LinkedIn for about 3 years and has great opinions and hot takes and all kinds of things to post. Yet it's getting harder and harder to tell if somebody actually knows what they say they know, or if they're just having AI write their content for them. I know on LinkedIn it's getting competitive, and it's happening across the different social media channels where we're trying to sell our expertise. And this is becoming the problem of AI. Is it's becoming harder to stand out as the commodity content floodgates open up and everybody's starting to pour in content, because that's what we've all been trained to do as marketers. So what do we do now? Welcome back to the AI Driven Marketer. We are continuing on in our Own the Show mini series that we are turning into a book in the month of November. And we're going to be continuing on. You're going to be hearing a lot from this series. And it's exciting because we're going to be talking about the things that nobody else wants to talk about. There's always more to talk about as far as how to execute AI. And we'll continue covering that on the show. But in this series, again, we want to cover some of the softer things, some of the things that with AI can actually help you overcome the wave of job loss that is coming for marketers and a lot of industries in general. So today we're talking about authentic AI. I'm Dan Sanchez, and I'm joined with my co-host Ken Frere.
Hey, what's up, bro?
And Ken, right before we got on this recording, you were telling me about a story about a friend you bumped into recently.
Yeah, so he has a YouTube channel, thousands of subscribers, and it's focused on graphic design.
Mm.
And it was one of those things. I was like, "Oh, how are you implementing AI?" And he was like, "I'm not worried about AI at all in my industry." And I was like a little bit nervous, and I started asking questions like, "How are you not worried?" Because I know a lot of friends who are like doing AI and graphic design and are absolutely crushing it right now. And, I'm not a graphic designer, so I don't know what that landscape is going to look like a year from now. But you were talking about how like the demise for graphic designers is coming.
It's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
As somebody who did graphic design before coming into marketing, I'd say I'm a B designer. Definitely not A plus. To be A plus, you really have to be in the game all day, every day,
Yeah.
in order to be in it. I'm good enough to like move things around, make some things look nice. I'm good enough to direct AI and how to make it. And I find with AI, I'm almost approaching A. Maybe not quite A, but I like my level has definitely been improved. I was probably B minus, now B plus, maybe A minus. I don't know. But I find that AI makes it easy to make things look good. And the better AI gets, the easier it's going to make things look good on like first shot, just like you can with photos, right? You can go to Midjourney and get an awesome looking photo. You can give it a photo of yourself and be like, "Hey, make an awesome portrait of me and put it in front of this place." And all of a sudden you're like, bam. And it's like it was shot with a really nice camera and everything looks perfect, as if a pro photographer had taken it. That's coming for graphic design. And that's going to be an issue for graphic designers, just like it is marketers. It's just a matter of time before it catches up. But that's why we need to talk about it, because there's a problem coming. There's a multiplication of content. Everyone's going to have that look, that polish, just like we're seeing on LinkedIn with content.
Yeah. And to give my friend credit, he's like, "Oh, I use AI for process stuff and little things here and there, but not for like the actual design." He's like, "I'm doing 100% of the design work." And I was like, "That's awesome." Again, design's not my world, so I can't speak into it, but I know how much you need AI these days and how much AI is going to change the landscape, but we also need the human touch. So it's like, how do you bring the human element into all industries, including graphic design, which can be affected the most? We were even talking about Coca-Cola, right? They just came out with their new commercial, and it was all done by AI. All those videographers, right, who thought that they had a cush job, now their job is on the line.
Yeah.
So like you're going to need to pivot depending on the knowledge-based work that you're in.
And you could tell this is the second year they've come up with an AI video for Coca-Cola with, They had the same. It's funny, they used the same song as they used last time, of like as if they're anticipating Santa coming, and Coca-Cola trucks are rolling into these little snowy towns. This time they had a lot more like animals, but anthropomorphized, kind of like Zootopia, where they're all like people animals. They're
Yeah.
seeing the trucks coming, getting exciting. Last year was a little cringy. It was like not quite right. This year you're like, okay, that just looks like a nice little commercial that kids would enjoy. And there's the animals don't talk, but they have sound effects to them sometimes, and you're like, huh, it's come a long way in one year. Everything's looking good, and next year it'll get even better. So we're not going back. And if Coca-Cola is able to push it, I think next year we'll have a bunch more of it across mediums, across graphic design, across written context. But what does that mean for expertise? Because that's what people are here for. That's what I think people need to lead with moving forward around thought leadership. But how do you stand out when everyone's able to like ask ChatGPT, and ChatGPT can give you PhD level answers, right? I mean, we both have a friend, uh, Kenny Ortiz, who was a guest on this podcast talking about the theology of AI, who has said and at least told me that he's like, hey, like it can hit PhD level work, because he's tested it and compared it against his own papers. And he's like, oh my gosh, like it can recreate what I've created in a matter of moments, something that took me weeks to put together and research and document.
Yeah. I was thinking about this last night as we were preparing, and one of the differences that makes genuine expertise, that the kind of authority that we're looking for, and the thing that just looks polished, is personality, right? Like, and that's one thing ChatGPT can't, imitate, is someone's personality. No matter how much you try to prompt it, I'm starting to realize, oh, I could pick up when something's written by ChatGPT, because it uses certain literary devices that most
Yeah.
people don't use, or and if they do use them, it's seldom, not like every single sentence. And I'm like, oh my gosh, please start changing it up a little bit,
Yeah.
start adding your own thoughts into it, just to break up the monotony of how it writes. But I think personality is going to be one of those things that we all have that ChatGPT can't imitate.
Yeah. ChatGPT can mirror personality. And I think some of the tells right now, like, are obvious with, like, especially with writing, and LinkedIn whines about it all the time. Oh, the M dash,
Yeah.
and it's true. Like, it really freaking loves M dashes, and only good writers use M dashes. So you can always tell if you get an email and it has an M dash in it, you're like, yeah, that was a ChatGPT response. That's cool. I got a text message from somebody the other day, and I'm like, yeah, that was a ChatGPT response. I could tell because you used an M dash and a semicolon, because who uses semicolons unless you were the English nerd in school? It's just so.
I use semicolons.
The M dash is really the tell. Semicolons sometimes I'm like,
I'll tell you what, I never picked up on people, like in books and stuff like that people would use an M dash until the flurry of M dashes are being used.
mhm.
Now I actually see them all over the place
Oh
in
yeah,
books.
yeah.
I was
No,
like,
good
oh,
writers have been using them forever.
yeah. And I was
I knew
like,
what it was for certain things. As a graphic designer, I had to use M dashes because the editors would always knock me if I didn't in certain situations. So I knew what the N dash and the M dash were. But
yeah,
most people are like, what's an M dash? But I think those tells will go away as AI gets smarter. You can coach it out. And it does have certain writing mechanisms it uses. And depending on whether you're asking for a song or a LinkedIn post or a certain style, it uses them all the time.
yeah,
Truth be told, it's something it uses all the time. Or it's like different little transition phrases. There's common ones it uses frequently.
yeah. Like
And
the not just this, but this.
yeah, and it
Yeah,
uses those, but those will go away, and it'll be harder and harder to tell. And I think the thing that people need to focus on, the thing that people need to change, is the big difference for coming up with content. And this is the topic really, is how do you actually stay authentic when it's so easy to create content with AI?
yeah,
And to me, the big difference is you shouldn't allow ChatGPT to do your thinking for you. You actually have to feed it something. Otherwise, all your content, all your expertise is based on what ChatGPT can come up with, which doesn't help you stand out when everybody else is doing the same thing.
yeah. Something that you and I were talking about was indistinguishability. right? Where like the lines are going to be blurred so much that you need to figure out how to stand out, and that's authenticity. And one of the things that I realized even yesterday when I was talking to my friend, there was a couple of other of us that were talking. It was a homeschooling event, and the way they talked about using AI was, oh, just prompt it. It's going to give you the information, and then you just copy and paste that into whatever social media platform. I even had someone tell me, they're like, have you noticed how someone can sample your voice and your face and just start doing a video podcast that way? You don't even need to do the work. And I'm like, yeah, but it's going to sound so robotic. It's going to miss the nuances of what it means to be human. And your expertise needs nuances that it won't actually pick up. So I'm like, you're going to tell and people are going to walk away from it.
Yeah. The amount of people I see pushing this whole faceless YouTube thing as the next like wantrepreneur trap. It's like I see it all over the place right now. It's like the big thing, like, oh, you can make a faceless YouTube channel, make lots of money. Oh, my cousin just started one. Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the new bait and switch people are pulling because it used to be drop shipping, it used to be affiliate marketing. It's like that just kept. It's like the new flavor of the year. Faceless
Yeah.
YouTube channel, as if it's the easy way to make money. I'm like, yeah, it's the easy way to become a commodity real fast.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone to YouTube looking for product reviews and hit a YouTube like this? This was even before AI,
Yeah.
but somebody would essentially find like B-roll of like generic products and then like put in the product photos review as if it's a product review and then just have a voiceover.
Yeah.
I hate those.
I
I
wish
like
people,
specifically, I'm like scanning to make sure it's not that. And as soon as I know it's that, I'm out. I'm looking when I'm looking for product reviews on a new grill or something substantial or camera, or whatever. Like I'm looking for real people sitting there with like 5 of the things and be like, hey, yeah, I bought all 5 and this is what I've learned. I don't even care like what if they're an expert or not. I just want to know it's a real person that actually bought the thing, used it, and given me their hot take on which one's better and
what?
why.
Why is your reviewer a redneck? You're like, we're doing grills. Like,
Because I was thinking of barbecue grills, I guess. I don't know. I was in the mode. You can tell I've seen a few.
you have.
And I prefer that. Why? Because it's authentic. It's a real person who's probably grilled a lot and has an honest take on which barbecue grill is going to be the thing.
Yeah.
But I think we're all looking for that. So, in an age where AI is creating content like crazy and everyone's trying to automate it, everyone's trying to fake it, everyone's trying to come up with the faceless channel, like authenticity really starts to matter. But the question becomes, how then do you actually lead with authenticity?
Yeah. I mean, I think we talked about it earlier a little bit, but one of those areas is don't let AI do the thinking for you. And I think this was like early on. You gave me this great tip, Dan, when I was like, how should I prompt AI? You're like, just verbally vomit with AI. Just put your microphone on and just start talking. Let it capture the way you say things. Let it capture your voice, your style, all that stuff. And man, I've just been doing that more and more. And all of a sudden, ChatGPT is just capturing that. Like, oh, the way I communicate is a certain way, right? And I told it like, here's my framework of how I typically communicate. But man, that has been a massive game changer for my messaging to stay authentic.
One of the things I think a lot about is this movie that I feel like is like one of the best pictures I've ever seen of like the difference between AI and human knowledge.
Hmm.
It's this scene from Good Will Hunting with Will, like this genius boy prodigy who knows so much and he's like become a math prodigy, but he's actually a genius on like pretty much every topic. Like his girlfriend's pre-med and she's got to write this like science paper. He's like, what do you got to write about? Then he goes and knocks it out in 15, 20 minutes, like writes the whole paper. Once he finds out what topic she has to write on, he turns it in. She's like, I actually have to learn this. He's like, yeah, but we need to go out. But he tears his counselor's life apart just without even knowing much about him. And then his counselor is sitting down to confront him on a park bench in this scene. And he's like, Will, you don't know crap, man. You if I asked you about art, you could tell me everything about Michelangelo, like his life's work, him and the Pope, political aspirations, but you couldn't tell me what it smells like in the Sistine Chapel. I could ask you about love and you'd probably quote me a sonnet, but you don't know what it's like to actually be truly vulnerable with a woman. I could ask you about war. And you might quote me Shakespeare, but you've never actually had to hold a friend while he's dying on the battlefield, looking to you for help. You know a lot, but you really don't know anything. And I'm like, that's like the best picture of AI. AI knows everything. It's been trained on all the knowledge, but it actually hasn't experienced anything.
Yeah.
Nothing. Zero. And that's a big freaking difference when it comes to like AI's expertise versus anybody listening here. You've actually been through some schools of hard knocks. You've actually had to experience some pain in some things to come to the expertise you've had. And that I think is going to be a competitive advantage later on.
Yeah. A few weeks ago, my wife, my family and I have 4 kids at the time of this recording. We hiked a mountain. It's a small mountain. It was in the
Sorry,
Smokies.
you
So,
have four kids? Four
what?
kids?
I said at the time, well, five. Five. One is still in the room. Okay.
You got one on the way, bro.
I got one
It's
on the
already
way.
here.
It'll be here in like 4 weeks, 5 weeks.
That's 5 kids in my book.
5 kids, 5 kids. 4 kids on this side of, I don't even know how you say it properly, of the womb
Of the
of
womb.
her body. But what I was saying is we were hiking a mountain, right? And they were like struggling, but we got to the top and they saw these beautiful views and they're like, wow, we made it. What's the elevation? Right? They're like, yeah, it was like 2,400 something. It was insignificant if you ever climbed the
Yeah.
Rockies, right? But they felt really accomplished. So then fast forward a day later, we're just looking through some pictures that my wife and I have done, and my kids are looking at it and they are like, whoa, what mountains are those? And I'm like, oh, those are the Rockies. That's Hallett's Peak. Mommy and daddy have hiked those. And they're like, well, how high is that? I'm like, well, that's about 14,000 feet. And they're like, what? We just climbed 2,400. You did 14,000? That's amazing. Like their mind was blown and they had some little bit of experience of what it took. But then when they saw that picture, they're like, I could see the picture, kind of what you were talking about. Like they see the picture, they see the thing, but they've never experienced a 14er. They have a slight glimpse of it, but they are still like, we need it. The next statement blew me away. My son was like, we need to go hike that mountain. And I'm
Mm.
like, yes, I want you to experience what it feels like to actually look at it, not just from this camera, this beautiful picture, but like you need to experience it yourself. As we think about this, how does experience actually do the work that gives people credibility AI can't replicate?
Experience starts to matter because in order to execute AI, you need to be able to discern and understand what to pick. Because AI can come up with answers real fast, but it's not always right, or it's generic, or it's just not you. You can just know if you're an expert, you know it's not going to be what you need. And so there's a big difference between someone like me who's been in marketing, eating and breathing it and living it, evaluating a marketing plan from AI, than someone who doesn't know anything about marketing asking ChatGPT for a marketing plan.
Yeah.
I could discern the difference. Other people can't discern the difference. Shoot, I just came up with a song on Suno the other day. ChatGPT wrote the song, came up with the prompt. I plugged it to Suno. It's good. I like it, but honestly, it's probably like I could post it on TikTok or on iTunes. It's not going to take off because I don't even have the vocabulary to describe even what it is. Like ChatGPT had to write it for me. I like it, but like it's just not going to hit the same for people. It's not going to resonate in the same way. And that's going to make a difference. The other big part is people buy from people they trust. Recently, I had to go buy a pre-workout supplement. Had it in my mind. I was like, hey, I'm waking up early in the mornings. I like to work out first. I don't want to drink coffee or tea. It just takes too long to make. I just want it simple, caffeine, workout, bam. And so I was looking at pre-workouts. And I went to Walmart and was looking at all the different shelves, and there's like 30 different options. I'm like, oh my gosh. And they all look good. Coming back to that design point, like these are all designed by designers, but pretty soon, like that will be the problem we have with AI. All the content will look good. All the design will look good. Everybody's website will look posh. Shoot, they probably all resonate too, because AI can go do the research, find out what people's actual problems are, and write the copy for it and the design. It'll all sound good. Just like I was looking at this whole shelf, and I couldn't decide which one was good. They all had good value props, and I couldn't make up my mind. And then all of a sudden, one jumped out at me, and it was because of a name on the container. It said Jocko. I'm like, Jocko, I know that name. That's something I've seen before, and I remember that was and the Navy SEAL. Yeah, I'd heard him before on a few podcasts. I don't subscribe to him anywhere, but I'd heard him on a few guest episodes at different places. That Navy SEAL guy who's now a leadership author. And I bought that because I trusted it, because I knew something about him based on his experiences that I had heard him say on the podcast. I could discern something about him. And it wasn't about though his personality's fun. I didn't buy it because of his personality. And I think there's times for that. But for him, I bought it because his experience told me something about his values, which deep down I think is the real thing that's going to make the biggest difference for people who sell expertise, for people who sell anything, is AI can't have values. And I looked at all those different containers of different pre-workouts, couldn't discern any of their values, couldn't trust any of their values. But because I knew this one was attached to a real person with real values based on real experience, I could actually go through and then believe and trust something. And I made the choice and I bought it and I've stuck with it ever since. I've come to find out that a lot of guys actually like Jocko's pre-workout. It's a popular one. But that experience stuck with me. And I'm like, I think this is going to play out. I think this is going to happen to a lot of us. People are going to be looking for sources of truth that they trust. And when everybody sounds smart with AI, who can they trust? And I'm betting that it's going to be based on real people's stories, based on experiences that reveal values. Now that's a lot. So let's kind of like unpack what that even means.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we even talk about this, what we're talking about, these are like the core things that make humans better than machines, right? Like than AI. And this is the stuff that AI will never be able to replace. So far we've talked about like personality, right? AI can't replace that. We talked about authenticity and we talked about experience and like all the values that we talked about. And as we unpack this, I want to come at it from a different, more philosophical worldview for a second, but I truly believe you and I both are believers, right? We love Jesus and he created us in the Imago Dei, right? This is the image of God. And what we talk about this is that we are actually called to be creators. I truly believe all human beings are called to create and cultivate things, right? And that's something AI can't do. It can mimic it, but it can't actually create something. Like I just think about how many times I own real estate and I've had to fix things up, right? When I've had to rebuild something, when I'm done, I'm like, man, I accomplished that. Same thing when I've written an awesome blog post. I'm like, right, man, that came out of my own mind. I processed through it. I created something. And I find that humans, there's this immense fulfillment that we get from when we're creating and building something. And if we use AI to replace us in creating and cultivating, what we're going to find as human beings is we're going to feel really empty, man. We're going to always be looking for the next best thing to find fulfillment in. And we're just like, I feel purposeless. Right. And it's because you're not building. This is why I find like I'm going on a little rabbit trail, but this is why I find a lot of men who are feeling like, what am I called to do? I'm like, well, you're playing video games all day long. You're just watching sports all day long. You're not actually doing something to feel like you're purpose driven. But when you're building something, man, you're in it all day long. And I think this is the thing that makes us gonna have an advantage over AI all the time is that we are constantly called to be creating and cultivating and building. And if we're not doing that, man, we're going to find ourselves in a place where we feel like life is empty and meaningless. But when we step into it, man, you feel like you're fully alive.
It's a big difference.
Yeah.
And I think it's a major thing that separates out people who are just kind of like fiddling with ChatGPT and people who are creating, even if they have to just kind of give ChatGPT a rough draft. But if you're giving it a rough draft based on truth, based on real experience, based on your core values, then even if it's turning that into something and doing quite a bit with it, like that song I created, I came up with, I was tired of there not being November music, lots of Christmas music, but I'm like, how come there's no November music? Like, come on, November is an awesome month. So I started making a whole album for it. And I
You
started
would.
just coming up with different concepts for songs of like, I don't know, like an A story and a B story to every song, like the emotion, but what's actually happening, and trying to walk out different things that I feel like are nostalgic for November. And it was a lot of fun, and the music was fun. But obviously, ChatGPT had to carry me quite a bit because I don't have an expertise in music. I don't even play an instrument, and I can't sing. So ChatGPT and Suno had to carry me. But still, it was fun because I was creating something unique. I was coming up with ideas for it to riff on, and I could probably experiment and do something farther with that. But I think you have a good point. Like a big differentiator is people actually making things, even with AI, that
Yeah.
are a reflection of what they know to be true and a reflection of their actual experience.
Yeah. Well, and if you think about this, like I had this random thought last night too. I was like, someone created AI.
Mhm.
Someone's AI is an AI daddy out there somewhere. Just kind of like they started developing this thing, and it's like they created. And like if they didn't create this, we wouldn't be where we are today. Right. So I'm just like excited when I think about humans stepping into their God given purpose of like, go create, go build, go make things happen. Even if you're using AI, that's awesome. We as humanity have been using the tools and resources around us for millennia to advance society. And that's what we should be doing with AI as well. Right. But what I don't want people to do is think that AI can replace humans, because here's another philosophical insight I've been thinking about. There is a stream of conscience or worldview that thinks we're just a clump of cells. It's just a whole bunch of neurons hitting our brains. We're kind of like in the matrix a little bit. That's how some people think about our world. So when they think about AI, they think, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world because AI can replace what all humans are doing. But there's other things that AI can never replace. For example, relationships, right? Like AI can't replace these deep, intimate relationships. And one of the ways that I have found that we have grown in deep, intimate relationships is through conflict.
Yeah.
I know that sounds super counterintuitive, but like if you can press through the conflict, you actually become better friends, right? And I mean, I've been married 14 years now. You've been married, what, 15, 16?
15.
Right? 15 years. Like there's been a lot of conflict in our marriages, but because we've pushed through, man, it's exciting. We're like, this is my best friend. We're excited to be with one another. We don't want anyone else. Right. AI will never be able to do that. And that sounds so counterintuitive because people run away from conflict, but like that's the thing that helps us grow.
So as you're listening to this, you're like, well, great. These are all things that separate us and make us different from AI. But then how does that help me as an expert? How does that help me as someone who wants to stand out from the crowd? And I think it helps you in a number of different ways. But the ones I want to talk about first are that it changes how you approach content. And we're going to be talking about that through the rest of this series, through the rest of this book, about how to actually apply this practically. But I think it actually starts with that seed in the very beginning. Like it has everything you post on social media, everything you record on a podcast, everything that you're putting out there has to be uniquely from you, your thoughts, your wrestling, your own experience. And if you don't have the experience, then you have to go get the experience. You can even do it even as you're trying to get the experience to become the expert, to become somebody who's actually gone and felt the pain of doing the thing. You could be posting about it and actually building authority around it, even as you're a student learning it. And we'll get into that. But that's why we're recording this episode, is that there is a way to stand out from AI, and we need to lean into it as much as possible, because that's the only way we're going to actually be able to stand out from those who are just prompting ChatGPT, even automating full machines to come up with a wave of content, 1,000 posts a day, because that's what they're doing. Lots of companies are being spun up all the time to come up with hundreds of podcasts an hour and then just split testing them to figure out which ones are the best ones. That's what you're up against. But there's something that AI can never do. It can never recreate you. It can never have your story. It can never have your experience. It can never have your particular set of values. And I think that's the advantage going forward. There's one last thing I want to tackle, and that is the idea of being authentic. We used to talk about this a couple of years ago. I used to see it on LinkedIn like all the time, and social media. It was like a broad culture thing, and I don't see it as much anymore. But when I used to hear authentic, people used to say like, "Well, just be you, just be you." And to me, that was like the worst advice. Some like people are like, people don't even know who they are. How are they supposed to just be them? Have you ever had any thoughts about that, about the advice on just be you and what it means then? And then like kind of what it means today as we've been reflecting on all these different things that make us different from AI.
Yeah. So to give some context, I was born and raised in New York City. So whenever I heard just be you, it was like, just be super aggressive, super assertive. Just tell them, just speak your truth. And it doesn't matter if you hurt that person, right? They just need to hear it that way. And I was like, yeah, that works for some people, but I hurt a lot of people that way too, right? And sometimes people take that to just be you. I'm like, I'm just going to be whatever I want, whoever I want, and not thinking about society and how that could affect others. So when I think about just be you, I actually don't like that language, right? But I'm always thinking about to be authentic is to be someone who can truly show that they're not perfect, right? There's vulnerabilities, but they also are humble enough to say, I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at. And everything I do is to help others, not to build myself up. And if you started to think about writing content in that way, all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, cool. It's not about me. It's about how do I help someone else? I think that's one way to be authentic. What do you think, Dan?
Just a while ago, I had a revelation that it's like being authentic isn't based on your emotions. And
Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of people think being authentic is. Like I'm just being me, but they're really just giving full vent to their emotions. Kind of like you were talking about your New York's your rough New York City style attitude was really just, well, you had an emotional bent towards just being angry and being combative, right? And that's what a lot of people think being true to you is. Being true to you is how you're feeling in the moment. But I'm like, no, no. Being true to you is being true to the core values that you actually believe in. That's what authenticity actually looks like. What do you believe? Why do you believe it? And then tell me the story of how you came to that conclusion. Act out of that belief. Have faith in that belief. And I think that's what authenticity actually looks like, rather than just giving way to your emotions. In that case, I'm like, please don't be authentic. If you're an authentic jerk, please stop doing that. I'd rather you be a fake nice person. Yes, let's be fake all day, all day. If you have to pretend to be Captain America, please do so. Do not do not be a punk. Do not be mean. I'd much prefer fake. But that's not what being fake is. Being fake is in acting in incongruence with your core values, or when you're shifting your core values from one group to another. That's what real fakeness is.
Yeah. And where I can see the challenge on like LinkedIn, for example, is everything does feel fake sometimes. Everybody's always congratulating. Everybody's like, that's a great idea. I'm like, no, it's not. That's a terrible idea.
Yep.
You know? And that's where I love just living out your core values and just saying, hey, you know what? I disagree. And there's an appropriate way, right, to disagree on LinkedIn, for example. And I've learned that there's an appropriate way versus like X, man, that's a dumpster fire. People, that's like New York all day long on X of how people disagree with one another. So I love that concept of just like, man, be congruent with your values. For many people, they don't know their core values. And that's what we want to talk about next is like, how do you find your core values, especially when the world is telling you one thing and you're trying to use ChatGPT to sparse it out. But there's a great way that I've used it in the past of just trying to figure out how I determine core values. I know Dan has a framework, and in the next episode, that's what we're going to talk about. And we're going to talk about a bunch of other things, but like truly figuring out what are the driving desires and motivations, what are the values that really help you to be who you're called to be, not fake, but truly authentic.